Hey everybody, and welcome back. This is Candice Marie with Mystic Illuminations, aka the Peace Dealer, coming back for video 2 of what's going on with the Great American Eclipse and America. If you guys didn't check out my other video, please be sure to take a look because it kind of gives you all the introduction to this video, some timelines throughout history, and what has happened in the past as a result of these Leo and Aquarius eclipses. But I kind of gave you guys a little bit of just a bite of some stuff that I was talking about with the charts, more specifically some connections that I also made to the impeachment of President Bill Clinton back in 1999. And so I'm gonna pull up the charts. I want to start with first showing you guys the eclipse chart. Like I said, I'm not going to go deep into everything in this video like I did the other one, but certainly I want to be able to give you guys the visuals that you need to see what the heck is going on. It's early here. It's like super early. This is what I get, I guess, for lagging to get all of this stuff done. But it's August 18th. It's the morning here in LA, so bear with me because I am certainly not a morning person. But I'm going to flip this screen really quick. I just have to kind of figure out how to do that or how to be able to do this share screen. Give me 1 second here, people. Here we go. All right, so here is the screen share currently. We've got August 21st, 2017. For the sake of America's birth chart, which I will be going into, I just want to note this is going to be based off of 2:30. Okay, this is East Coast time, August 21st in the afternoon. Obviously, it's going to hit at 11:30 Pacific. Otherwise, check your clocks and your time zones accordingly. But here we go, Leo eclipse. So this is being used, like I said, in Philadelphia because I am going to be working with America's birth chart just to make it easy so it's the same time zone so there's no confusion. But what we're looking at here is the eclipse chart. Now, we talked a little bit about, this being such a significant event. Obviously, with any new moon, this is when we have the sun and the moon come together at that moment and create that brand new seed. The beginning of July 2017, we had another Leo new moon, 0 degrees of Leo. And this is the second one, making it a blue moon here at 29 degrees. Well, roughly, we've got this 28 degrees and change here. But some of the big factors of this is we still are seeing that Saturn, also Black Moon Lilith, is kind of creating a bit of a trine, more so to Mars than the North Node. But we're still seeing that trine really within about, a 7-degree orb, a 6 and change, right down here to Saturn. Then we've also got this exact trine going on with Uranus and Aries. And so it's trining, bringing it up here to that 28 degrees. And so the fire trines are really significant. I spoke in length about also this moon, we know that the sun and the moon both trine, but we see more of an emotional reaction, an emotional rebellion here with the moon trining Uranus. And then the sun trining Saturn and Uranus, also a lot of people who have vitality. We are not just acting in an internal way, we're also expressing we're expressing those externally. And so you're going to see a lot of reactionary people. Like I said, if you guys want more of a spiritual aspect, please stay tuned because I'm going to do a video that's like all the light and fluffy spiritual stuff. This is just more like right between the eyes type of astrology reading. So then we've also got this, we still have this kind of opposition here with Venus and Pluto. Now, it's a looser opposition, but still, whenever we see an opposition of Venus-Pluto, we certainly see stuff that's going on that has to do about labors of love. Even though it might not be pretty, we're still feeling the effects of that opposition a couple days ago, where there's intense emotion, some obsession, some people who are being very possessive or maybe even very reactionary, and could be even very fixated on, the events that are going on right now. In lighter news, we do see that Venus is making a trine to Chiron, and so we see a lot of spiritual healing. And I talked about Venus in Cancer, being the love for the homeland and being able to kind of bring that in. So Jupiter is still squaring Pluto. And so I kind of liken that to, like I said, seeing a lot of issues with how we relate to other people. Also, this is magnifying and exposing the corruption and, you know, all of the crap that's going on right now in terms of politics in America and our administration and all sorts of fun things. So if you guys want even more specifics, like I said, watch the other video first, come back to this one. I just want to lay this chart over a couple different other people's charts just to give you guys an idea of what's happening so we can kind of start to examine and take a look at what the hell is happening, how it's affecting some of these people. Let's go back in time here a little bit. So this is something that I brought up in the last chart, or the last video, excuse me. So this is ex-president Bill Clinton, born August 19th, 1946. It's going to be his birthday soon, right along an eclipse. Very interesting. He's sitting here with his 26-degree sun in the 11th house. And also we've got a Libra rising, and it appears that his moon is, it's in Taurus. So interesting chart. I was talking about back in 1998 going into 1999. We can actually go there. We have the technology. It was the end of 1998 going into 1999 that we were starting to see everything going on with this, impeachment. Okay, so here's what's really interesting. So I guess I should probably pull the exact date. Let me get that. Oh, should I get that? Let me see if I can get that. But so we know that, you know, the eclipse that was happening around this year because of where the nodes are, guys, okay? So check this out. So if we go to where the nodes are, we've got the north node at 23 degrees Leo. It's not quite where ours is right now, I believe. I'll look at ours in a second. Don't quote me on anything. I'm pulling up multiple softwares here. Give me just a second. But I'll tell you exactly what degree the node is at right now. Okay, so actually it's at 24 degrees. So the node was at a pretty similar place back in 1998 going into 1999. But this is when we were beginning to see this eclipse happening, okay, and affecting President Bill Clinton's, obviously, his term, the impeachment that ended up kind of more or less taking place at the beginning of 99 as a result of his affairs in the White House behind closed doors. Now, what I find very fascinating is I'm not saying Trump's being impeached. I know a lot of people are pushing for it, but still, I'm more fixated on the fact that he was doing stuff, he was being dishonest, he was hiding things, and then all of a sudden, things start coming out. He can't control it. You know, everybody was trying to kind of keep this under wraps, and it ended up playing out in a very, the 11th house. Especially in Leo, it's a political leader. And when you start to see the South Node moving through Aquarius, I still see that as like a karmic loss. You know, the 11th house also, it's with that eclipse, it's highlighting what was going on and how he was being viewed as a leader by Congress. And we all know how that played out and how it affected his career. But that's how it affected him. And can you blame him? Look at that. He's got that Mars, Neptune, Venus conjunction along his ascendant. That doesn't really surprise me, especially in Libra. But what I'm more kind of looking at here is how it played out and how it affected him, because his sun is so close to that 28 degrees and change that we're seeing in this eclipse. I started thinking, wow, could it play out in a very similar manner? Now, we see that Mr. President Trump has his sun in the 10th house, but here's what's very interesting. Let's scrap Bill. Let's go ahead and pick up Trump. But also at 26 degrees, same as Bill Clinton, we have this 26-degree Leo. Now, it's not his sun, it's his Mars. So we have to take into consideration, you know, Bill's sun being in his 11th house, that eclipse was magnifying whatever he was doing. And I still consider him, you know, the third decan of Leo. He's still very much fits into that category and getting closer and closer to Regulus. And in the past video, I talked about when you have something on that degree, you are seen as a king, or you've got something royal about you, and you are gifted with the opportunity and the ability to be seen by people and be recognized by people and given and granted some form of power. So when this power is abused or taken advantage of or manipulated, certainly Regulus has a tendency to create a situation where there is a fall from grace. And sometimes, especially in the 11th house, it happened to be a very public fall that really affected him more politically and how he was viewed by Congress. Now we take into consideration, 18, 19 years later, the eclipse is coming back. Can we draw conclusions that perhaps maybe there will be a similar effect on a similar, if not exact, degree of Leo? In fact, he's a little bit further along. We would actually round this to 27 degrees, but still closer to Regulus, now sitting at 0 degrees of Virgo. What is interesting to me, and I've talked about this in previous videos, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the eclipse happening on President Trump's ascendant is enough. And it doesn't get more intense than this 29 degrees Leo, but we're seeing this eclipse happening somewhere between Mars and his ascendant. And so I'm going to throw the transits in there in a second. I want to talk a little bit about this hot mess of a president, because there is some stuff that's really breaking him down. Guys, I talked about this in January. That's why I'm up at freaking 9 o'clock in the morning, pumped to do this video, because number one, I feel like this is the moment everybody's been waiting for. Number two, I have my own hunches, my own feelings about what's going to be taking place here. And so those of you guys who are like, what the hell's going on? This is his chart, okay? This is where the planets are now. So nothing's changed. The inside is the natal. The outside is the transiting planets. And so I'm going to look at his chart, and then we're going to look at his chart with the eclipse, and we're going to look at it progressed. So this is a little bit for more of the intermediate astrology students, but check it out. So right now it's August 18th, okay? The sun is actually about to hit his Mars. So this energy is actually going to be triggered much earlier. I mean, we talked about, obviously, when we're in an eclipse like this, we've been feeling it for the past month. We've seen it taking place and starting to happen. So as of about 12:30 Pacific here today, August 18th, the sun hits his Mars. And I think it's beginning to trigger this, sun north node situation we've been seeing playing out for the past 2 days. It's highlighting fated situations, things that need to be happening, significant events, and leading up to this eclipse. And so the past 2 weeks has been like this weird, time warp situation, wormhole in between, because we're in between the eclipse of Aquarius and the eclipse of Leo. So certainly there's been some weird stuff going on that's giving us some insight as to what's going to be happening. So the big thing is it starts today. Okay, so let's just get that over and done with. Let me move now to, actually, let me just do this. I want to talk about his transits first. We've got Mercury in his first house. It's going retrograde, so certainly we're seeing that, especially in terms of the way that he's expressing himself, how he's talking to people. He's making statements. He's taking shit back. He's having things reworked. There's certainly a lot of really harsh criticism going on, especially with the way that he is expressing himself to people. And look at this. This is an opposition that's been building. I mean, it's within a couple degrees, but transiting Neptune is opposing his Mercury, both of them going retrograde. So it's safe to say that people are mistaking the things that he's saying and not understanding and not being clear. And there's some confusion with that opposition. And, it's going retrograde. It's going to dip back into Leo here soon. So you'll see this opposition once again, but I think that's pretty significant about him just kind of seeming out of it. All right, so he's also in the process of having had his Jupiter return. So currently we do have Jupiter still conjunct Jupiter by a couple of degrees, and not quite creating that opposition right now to his 9th, but we will see that opposition later in the fall. This is really what I'm focused on here, and I talked about this for a while, and I think I didn't mention or didn't really hone in on the fact that he's also having Black Moon Lilith crossing his South Node as well as his moon. So in my earlier video this year, I was like, before the inauguration, I remember saying, well, look at the moon in the South Node conjunct with this almost, yeah, it's this exact opposition to his sun and his North Node. And so right now, Uranus is still in the bunch with that four degree opposition. Not as much, but I think you're going to see that play out regardless when you have Uranus North Node Sun. He's very Uranian, he's very unpredictable, and it is in Gemini, so you never know what he's going to say. It's a lot of information that's coming out, a lot of talking, but a lot of people are saying, you know, with this Saturn opposition, especially you Geminis who have been going through the Sun Saturn opposition, you know what it feels like. You know, it's a lot of like, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. You know, it doesn't quite seem like I'm getting the recognition, or people aren't giving me, you know, credit, or people are kind of beating me up. It's certainly issues with superiors. And what's fascinating to me is the 4th house is the house of Cancer, and Sagittarius, I see that as, you know, foreign interactions. And certainly this is putting so much pressure on him emotionally. South Node conjunct Moon, that speaks for itself. He certainly's got some karmic issues emotionally. He's got some mommy issues. Some other people had suggested potentially something would be happening to his own mother. I haven't looked into a chart. I'm not going to go there. But with Saturn stationed, I mean, basically it's been, if we go back, I mean, it's been around right here. This is what we're looking at. It's been around his moon for a little while. I mean, last month it came back. So for some time now, the past several months, this is June, it was making its way retrograde. And now this month and going into next month, even in the end of September, it's still going to be stationed around 21 degrees, which is magnifying for 2 months this emotional meltdown, Twitter statuses. I see the 4th house as a hidden realm. People who have their moon there may have a tendency to have emotional reactions that can be very Jupiter with that Sag, expressive, outlandish things that come really out of nowhere here with this opposition. And so you might see him continue to crack, guys. I remember telling you, I don't think that he is going to walk away from office. I don't see him being like, okay, guys, you're right, you win, I'll leave. He's not that type of person. You know, with Regulus on his ascendant, that's a great deal of pride. So I do think that the meltdowns will continue. We're also seeing here that, you know, Venus, he's getting ready to have a Venus return. Hello. He's getting ready to have a Venus return. So you're going to see here that, you know, Venus returns like solar returns, like Jupiter returns. You will see a period of time where it gives you some insight into the next year or so until Venus comes back. And I've worked with Venus a lot recently, and I do think that Venus is connected a lot to health as well. I mean, it's not just limited to, you know, Virgo placement or the 6th house guys. Venus can have a connection to the body similar to Mars, but the actual, you know, state of the body. So we'll get into that in a second, because he has a Venus return right about the time he has a Mars return. How fascinating. And so certainly with that Venus Saturn, we see how that's played out with God knows how many women he's married, but his lessons in love and politics and money and politics, the 11th house and Cancer, I think the home, America, we are Cancer as a country. So interesting things that are happening. I also want to mention that Chiron is going retrograde in his 8th house, the house of death. So we're in it, people. We're in it. You know, Uranus is still making a trine to his moon. It's a loose trine, people, but it's a trine, and it's going retrograde. And guess what? This is going to go retrograde for a couple months until it hits, oh, I don't know, 24 degrees. So it's creating a situation where there is erratic, unexpected tension, rebellion in regards to 9th house matters, how he's dealing with law enforcement, how he's dealing with rebels, Aries, how it's affecting him emotionally. Is he going to crack? Is this going to lead to something unexpected happening, an unexpected attack on President Trump? Is the Leo eclipse that's taking place August 21st, 2017 at 28 degrees and change, associated so much with Regulus that we're going to see a fall of a king. That's my question. That's what I'm posing. This is prime time astrology, people. This is the real fucking deal. So let's go and let's just take Mr. Trump's chart and let's put the eclipse over it. How does that sound? Okay. So here we go. We've got Trump's chart on the inside, the eclipse chart on the outside. So it's not too different than what we were just looking at, but it's the exact time. And this is what I was mentioning before. We see that the Venus return is just getting ready to begin. We see that Mars, the North Node, you know, the new moon, all primarily, it's all in his 12th house. It still is straddling that line. Certainly with the eclipse, bringing the attention to his ascendant, which is his body. Okay, people, it's his body. We've got the North Node here, conjunct really within about 1.5 degrees of his Mars. So some fated encounter. Now, I don't see all North Node transits or, you know, North Node in the 12th house is a bad thing. In fact, when I talk to clients, I tell them, well, you got to be careful. You know, the things that come unexpectedly are fated, and it's here to teach you, obviously, lessons depending on whatever the zodiac is. But in this case, it's Mars in the 12th with the North Node, bringing the attention to hidden displays of aggression, whether this be on his part or on other people. I certainly get a little concerned when we begin to see that there are things building in his 12th house, especially with Mars getting ready to go to Mars, making these trines to Uranus still in the 9th, that it could be unexpected military action that could still be coming as a result of the eclipse and him reacting to something in a foreign way. This could also be people that deceive him. You know, we've got Venus smack dab in between Saturn and Venus in the 11th house, and that's who is showing Trump tough love right now. I spoke in depth about people falling away from him and basically wiping their hands clean and going, we can't deal with this shit. We can't get behind this stuff. And then we've got the North Node and Mars and all this stuff also trining currently, not only his natal South Node, high North Node, trining South Node. Whenever I see stuff going on in the 4th, the 8th, and the 12th houses, I begin to see that as a potential exit. Now, people will argue and they'll say, well, not always. Sometimes you need to see a trine. There's got to be stuff in the 8th house. Yeah, but that's when I'm going to, like, pull out the progress chart and you guys are all going to, like, fucking fall off your seats. So pull up a chair. It's going to get interesting. We've got also Black Moon Lilith conjunct Saturn. And so this is, I see this as the dark side of the foreign interactions that we're having. Certainly karmic situations that are coming together. And Jupiter to Jupiter, some kind of release that's been going on. And so we also begin to then focus and take a look at how things will be progressing after the eclipse. After the eclipse, you ask? Well, remember, here we go. We have Mercury, okay, that is going to continue to go retrograde. And I spoke specifically about the end of August and the first couple days of September. And here's why. Let's just get rid of the eclipse chart for just a second. Okay. So here we are. I'll move into the 21st. So here's the 21st and the eclipse. So watch what's going on over here because Mars is going to hit Mars, okay? And we're going to see other stuff that's going to move. So here we go. Let's see. All right, so now Venus, as of the 28th, Venus is in the 12th house, okay? So Venus is getting ready to hit Pluto. What could potentially be happening here health-wise to a king? Okay, Leo, heart. What could also be going on to his body, the relationship to his body, what's changing and transforming. Mars is getting ready to hit Mars. It hits on August 29th within a few hours. There we go. Come on. There we go. So it's in the evening, but it's still the 29th. So now we've got the North Node and Mars return, Venus in the 12th, and we've got Mercury that's going retrograde, getting very close to his ascendant, which was the eclipse point. So I want you guys to be paying attention to when we're beginning to see planets cross that 29 degrees. Are you with me? Perfect. Okay, so let's take another day. So we're going to go to the 30th. So as of the 30th, now Mercury is at 0 degrees. It's going to drop into his 12th house. This is the day that I'm looking for, August 31st. Here's why. We begin to see a sun opposed his Neptune. It's been building, but it's really building now. We also get ready to see the moon that's going to conjunct Pluto, which is pretty significant because the moon Pluto will oppose his Saturn and his Venus, which is what's going on in terms of, you know, the risks that he's taken, the risks in government, Capricorn, and how it's affecting potentially his health and his term, okay? But then look at how close Venus is to Pluto, guys. Look at the North Node, conjunct Mars, conjunct Mercury on his ascendant. So certainly we're talking about the state of his appearance, the state of his body. Let's keep going. September 1st. Okay, so now we've got Mercury, 29 degrees, all right, 28 degrees on the 2nd. Now it's going to go to there, and this is an interesting time too because now Mars is conjunct with Mercury, still on top of his natal Mars within a 2-degree gap. Then Mars is going to move to 29 degrees, and so I do feel like, you know, that August 31st really through like September 2nd or 3rd, might be more, especially September 3rd, Venus to Pluto, North Node, Mars. I mean, it's colorful, people. It's colorful, especially when we start to see then, you know, the moon is getting ready to cross his South Node. That 29 degrees of Aquarius brings me over here once again to the 11th house cusp because Aquarius is the ruler of this house. Or we could go and look at, you know, where his natal Uranus is. We would see what's going on in terms of how he's being viewed and able to talk to people. Wow. Okay, so maybe you're still not buying it. Maybe you're like, nah, this is just a coincidence. This is all fucking bullshit. Is it bullshit? Because look at this, guys. Let's go and open up his chart. Let's pull up his progress chart. So the progress chart tells all the little details as to how he has become king of the free world. And where do your guys' eyes immediately go? Please tell me. Tell me where it goes. 0 degrees Virgo is his progressed sun in the 10th house. Holy shit, guys, that is Regulus. And that means that this eclipse is still eclipsing his term, how he is seen, his health, Virgo, okay? And not to mention, because it's happening in his 10th house, let's just take into consideration everything else that's hanging out there, shall we? Mars, Moon, Pluto, Mercury. People have been talking about, you know, all these things that could happen to him physically, but for whatever odd reason, I keep getting this feeling that even if something did happen, I don't think that there would necessarily, I'm not going to say there wouldn't be a statement, but I don't know if he would outwardly come out and be talking about stuff. I think he would be hidden away. But what about this loaded 12th house? Neptune, Mars, Venus, Chiron, Jupiter. Hold up. He has Jupiter in his 12th house that's been conjuncting all of these planets since the fall. So, you know, let's not also mention the fact that his North Node is in the 8th house of death, and so is Uranus. Now, Uranus is actually right around his natal sun. And we're seeing that Saturn is exactly opposing, I'll show you in a second because it's 21 degrees. It's exactly opposing his North Node and his Uranus, more so his Uranus than his North Node, but hi. All right, so Libra, ruled by Venus, still has to do with the body. I still see that as the legal system or perhaps some type of system, let's put it that way, some type of relationship, partnership, an open enemy, ruler of the 7th house. Now, we throw in what's going on right now in the world. Well, here we go. Mercury's going retrograde, and it's bringing it back into, okay, his 10th house, conjunct his sun. So certainly it's bringing it back to the topic of his job, how he's seen in the world, and what the hell is going on. What's interesting recently is Mars has been hitting his progressed Saturn, Moon, Pluto, Mercury, really the past, couple weeks here. That's been amping all of this up and certainly starting a bit of a ruckus. But my two primary focuses right now is the fact that, number one, Saturn sitting directly in opposition of Uranus, unexpected death, unexpected talks of threats, unexpected attacks, maybe. How about immediate and rebellious shifts in his allies and who is potentially supporting him or not supporting him? Gemini talking about him behind his back. How is that affecting what's going on currently with these Jupiter trines? Now, Jupiter sits at 19 degrees. It is direct. It's smack dab on his Chiron in the 12th house. So certainly that doesn't mean something's going to happen to him. In fact, I look at that and go, Jupiter Chiron in Libra in the 12th, it's like people are falling away from him. We just saw his board of CEOs completely fucking dispel. So this is the state of his relationships with other people. Still partnerships, people who could deceive you. I think he's got a lot of that going on, and it doesn't change anytime soon because Jupiter's coming up on Jupiter, and then it's going to cross his ascendant sometime here in the fall. But that still makes you very visible and very visibly seen. What about the fact that, you know, these trines we know are still going on with the South Node to Mars, in fact, right now, that's also affecting and aspecting his 6th house of health. Now, there's no planets there, but certainly Uranus going retrograde over his progressed ascendant is showing you that he's having some rebellious interactions with partners and people who could potentially be very aggravated in Aries and in later degrees of Aries, especially because it has been aspected by Pluto and Jupiter all year. So that's that. That's what I find very interesting. I can throw the eclipse chart over that for you guys if you'd like to take a look, just in case, because this is all for fun. We're not really looking at anything we haven't looked at before. All right, so then also still Venus is coming up on his midheaven. It may not be there quite in time, but we're going back. So let's go, like when I said, things start to heat up August 31st, 2017. Still, we've got Mercury at 29 degrees, which is crossing his original ascendant. It's still conjunct Mars on his in his 10th house Sun. And then Jupiter has moved to 21 degrees. So we're not seeing anything different. It's just a different chart. But still, I mean, you're certainly seeing something happen. There's no way that there isn't going to either be some kind of emotional, political, physical takedown, and somebody is going to do something that's very behind the scenes. Unlike President Bill Clinton, where all that shit played out, you know, because it was in his 11th house. Still, obviously, what's going to happen will be very public, but I'm still seeing Jupiter hitting, especially, you know, being conjunct some of these planets like Chiron and Venus. There certainly is going to be something that's going to go on. I find that I think it'll be something more behind the scenes. Even if something does happen, I don't think we're going to get the full scoop. Obviously, with, you know, the way the news is these days, we don't know exactly what we can trust, but nevertheless, that's where we're at. So let's do this. Let's get rid of his progression, okay? And I also want to go and talk about America really quick, and America's birth chart. So here's America's birth chart. No, that's Trump. Ew. Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay, so America's birth chart, Sag rising. This is based off of July 4th, 76, 5:10 p.m. Philly. There we go, guys. So we've got the sun in Cancer, moon in Aquarius, okay? Rising is Sag. So here's America and the transits now. All right, so Saturn obviously is going through our first house. We've got the South Node that's getting ready to actually approach our South Node next year. So it's possible we could even be looking at a major restructure of what's going on financially and how that's affecting us, some kind of financial loss, or how we're dealing with our actual money flow economically, you know, changes and fluctuations to the dollar. And we've been seeing, you know, Jupiter is getting ready to aspect to make some trines to our moon, which I do think is good. It's going to help us, you know, certainly talk about what's going on a little bit better. But currently right now, what I'm concerned about, and this 21 degrees of either Mars or Sagittarius, are you guys noticing a trend? I said Mars, Gemini. You noticing a trend here? You know, that 20-ish degrees, it was like 17 to 20 or 21. That was, you know, Trump's North Node and his sun. Why am I even saying this? I'll just put it up here so you guys can see it. Okay. Yeah, so we've got the North Node sun conjunct his Mars. So certainly, you know, and I've said this before, I don't think that this is any coincidence when we begin to see presidents who either have similar traits as other presidents in terms of astrological placements, as well as America's chart, because you begin to see how they play a role in this. And so for his sun, North Node, Uranus conjunct Mars, and in the 7th house, it's how is his unexpected relations triggering aggravation and open enemies in terms of spoken word and communication with other countries, our relationship with other countries. We see that Trump's Mars sits where this eclipse is going to be on the 8th house cusp of America. Now it's on the 9th house. And being that it's Leo, it can be an aggravated situation and, you know, creating some tension with other countries. But I also see Mars as it being a situation where it's getting stuff done and, you know, in a very twisted way, changing our relations with other people. But I do think that this has been a long time coming. Trump just seems to be the pawn in this whole game. Look at this. Trump's natal Chiron, okay, in Libra, 14 degrees, the exact same degree as Saturn for America in the 10th house. And once again, bringing it back to the 7th house or Libra, our relationships, hurting our relationships openly out in the open with other people. Also hurting the system of law in America, passing some crazy stuff, certainly abusing his powers. Wow. I mean, like I said in my other video, it doesn't much matter what I do or how I flip this stuff around. You just can't make this stuff up. Then we look at America, the Pallas Athena conjunct the moon, sitting right on top of the point of fortune and the descendant of Trump. So certainly this is a situation where he is triggering America, okay? America, his point, his whole, you know, his real heart of the matter, heart of the purpose is to trigger and get America, especially high ladies, you know, the moon, talking, Pallas Athena, fighting for ourselves, you know, talking about freedom, talking about Aquarian. It's we are independent, but we are united. We are a group. And so this is also taking the power back in American politics. Totally, you know, he said, God damn it, he said that he was going to drain the swamp. But part of me is like, in some backhanded way, man, is he doing it because he's shooting himself in the foot and exposing everybody else. And what's interesting, and I talked about this, is with Regulus, the willingness, if you abuse your power, to take everybody down with you. He's doing it, guys. He's doing it. So look at this. Saturn and Venus, okay? This is his natal Saturn, Venus, which is conjunct Mercury, point of fortune, vertex. Interesting. So certainly, you know, how he comes in and how he expresses stuff is essentially, I guess this is a little bold, but I'm feeling frisky and I've had my coffee this morning, killing the country. Yikes. But here's a pretty sure shoe-in. His Pluto conjunct the North Node in America, okay? And it's not exact. I don't want to hear anybody saying anything about it. It's close enough. And that's putting a knife in it. Let's look at something else. Let's look at something else while we're on America's birth chart, okay? Let's do this. Let's go and let's progress America's birth chart. Oh, by the way, let me just do this really quick. America's transits, just so you guys know. This eclipse is happening in the 9th house, okay? Not quite the cusp, but we're certainly seeing things coming into the cusp, but not quite the cusp. And it's going to be trining and going to Aries and going to Sag. So making these trines here to our independence, how we are running the country, how we as individuals are getting involved, and also in, you know, who protects our country. And it's making these trines also to our 5th house cups still. It's in our 4th house. It's radical changes in the home. I mean, certainly some time ago when Uranus hit Chiron, it's safe to say that that's when everybody kind of started saying, oh shit. But just so you guys know what's going on in America. We're also anticipating having our Pluto return. Obviously, it's not going to happen for a couple years, but in my opinion, the second a planet gets within, I don't know, 10 degrees, we start to begin to feel the effects. And even more so because our natal Pluto is retrograde. Pluto is going retrograde. So check that out, guys. Very interesting what's happening right now. Our Pluto return is not going to be happening for some time. But I told you guys, you know, 2020, 2021, things get interesting with the South Node moving into Capricorn, Saturn, and Jupiter. Just to give you guys an idea, this is the year that I'm talking about. First, 2019 with this Saturn South Node Pluto. Okay, then we're at a 6-degree conjunction. Then 2020, the South Node has moved into Sagittarius. However, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, all basically happening. Still, all of them are going to be conjunct at this time. And things are going to be very different in America. And this is more so as a result of not just so much Pluto, but even Saturn and the South Node. That's certainly going to majorly change our economic structure. My prediction on this is not just because of what's happening with all these planets hitting Pluto in our South Node and our 2nd house of values and what we value and the money we make. But I also go to Taurus. And so when I begin to look at Taurus and go, okay, Taurus, what's happening? What's going on? Hi, Uranus is going to be in Taurus. Holy crap. The whole economic stuff is just going to shift. Not necessarily in a bad way, but you're going to see it be a total fluctuation. And I think that we are going to see a market crash, and we're going to see some stuff crash with homes. And, you know, there's plenty of time to talk about that. I don't want to worry you guys about that right now. But certainly that's going to be some of the themes. And if you watched my last video, I talked about the eclipse that happened in 1918 when the nodes were in Gemini and when they were in Sagittarius, and that was during the Great Depression. Here are the nodes at this time. So, you know, America has this tendency to really, we spend a lot more than we should, and we get in debt, and we try to grow the economy, and things actually may be very good for a while, and then all of a sudden something takes a turn, and when it's bad, it's bad. So we might be seeing that the eclipse is the precursor for the beginning of the restructure of America. But I'm also interested in looking at America's progressions. To be honest with you, I haven't even looked at it. Now seems like a really good time to do it. Okay. All right. Here we go. So this is the progression. Virgo rising. Okay. North node's in Cancer. Thank God. I mean, that gives me a little bit of hope here. In the 11th house. Here we go. South node conjunct Pluto. There's the timeline, people. There is the timeline. There it is. How interesting also that whose chart does this kind of look like? Kind of looks like Trump's chart. I mean, you're a couple degrees away here. We've got the Uranus in Gemini. We've got about 4 degrees off on the ascendant. We've got his moon in Sagittarius, literally degrees away. In the next 2 months, we're going to see that America's progressed moon will be in the same place as Saturn and Trump's South Node. But also we're seeing that there's some other things that are going on here. We've got Venus, which also can be the goddess of war. People don't realize that. People always think it's Mars. Venus can talk about our relations to other people. And so when we see that Uranus is currently floating around here, Pisces, progressed Pisces, 7th house sun, 12 degrees. What's there right now? Neptune. Neptune's going back and forth between Pallas Athena and the sun. But this is startling. Even I haven't looked at this. Saturn in Scorpio, woof. Okay. So here's the right now. Still, this eclipse will be happening in America's 12th house. In fact, retrograde Mercury is getting ready to hit here in a matter of just a couple days, which may very well bring the talk of America and America's health to the mainstream news. Let's go to this magical couple day period that I talked about, starting August 31st. On this day, the sun has crossed our ascendant, but that's another sign. I mean, when the sun hits our ascendant, starting on the 27th, all eyes are on us, okay? So let's go back to right now. We're seeing that, you know, the moon is about to hit Venus. It is somewhere actually right now in Jupiter. How appropriate is that conjunction? I mean, everybody's just the state of where the country is right now. It's a lot of tension. But the North Node getting ready to get hit by Venus is certainly bringing us together and making us realize that we really need to heal what's going on politically. All right, so Pluto obviously is making its way to the South Node. And we've got Saturn here, still close enough to the moon. It's like, it's close enough to feel the heat, but we're not getting hit by it yet. So we've already been hit by it. We're not going to get hit by it again. But still, you know, when this progressed moon moves, let's see, in about a month, here we go. So as of October, the moon is right around where Trump's moon south node is, and Saturn's still there. I mean, I know Saturn will go direct and it'll begin to move forward again, but still, I mean, we're going to be in some emotional turmoil for sure. The other thing that I'm noting is this placement of Neptune, like I said, conjunct the sun. It's our perception of other partners, especially across foreign waters, might be skewed. It might not be necessarily what we think it is. I mean, thankfully, we don't have anything in the 8th house right now. You know, we have Chiron that's going retrograde, but it got all the way up to that 8th house cusp. And Uranus is going retrograde. So if we go a couple months into the future, as of October, Uranus moves back into that 8th house again. And that doesn't mean anything's going to happen. Plenty of people have Uranus 8th house transits, and it doesn't necessarily mean there needs to be death. However, during October, we begin to see that Jupiter, actually the end of September going into October, Jupiter right here, it's at 0 degrees, well, it's at what, where are we? 1 degrees, but a couple weeks earlier, you'll see an opposition. And that's going to be when Jupiter is opposing Uranus right here. And then we're going to begin to see that Mercury and the Sun are making our way to Mars. So that can be affecting our relations with other countries still. I hope not. Obviously, we don't want these things to happen. But at the same time, we need to see some change. Just for the sake of it, because I was talking to you guys about what was going on in like 2020, 2021. Watch what happens as Pluto's getting closer and closer over here. Watch the planets that begin to show up. Saturn south node, Pluto on the south node, Pluto. I see this as like a rebirth. This is going to be a rebirth. We're going to have a node to node happen a couple months prior. And as of you guys know, a nodal return is like, holy cow. And that's, we're really going to be feeling it. I mean, obviously, you know, the beginning of 2019, but you know, this eclipse is the kickoff for the complete restructure of America. It's getting ready for Saturn to enter into Capricorn. It is illuminating everything. It's not allowing anything to be hidden. It's not allowing anything to be hidden. It's exposing everything. That's why you see so much 12th house stuff. It can be scandal. It can majorly be scandalous situations and scandalous issues. All right, so let's take a look here. All right, so let me stop my screen share, come back. So that was just something I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to show you all of the different ways that these events are going to be happening. Oh my gosh, I didn't even show you America's birth chart in the eclipse. Okay, don't go anywhere. I want to make sure I get it all in because I don't want to have to do any more videos because I'm already going to get enough hate mail as it is. But all right, so let me go back to this really quick. Okay, so one more thing. I wanted to show you America's birth chart with the eclipse. Actually, I need to not make this progressed. Duh. I mean, we can look at that, but okay, so here's America's birth chart, and here's the eclipse. Oh, maybe I did talk about this. Hi. Okay, so was there anything else I wanted to show you guys? Anything? I guess I should have done this live, but that's okay. I think that's actually everything. You know what? For the fun of it, let me look at it progressed with the eclipse. Is that going to make the difference? Probably not. It's the same. It's pretty much the same as Trump's chart. Okay. So with that being said, never mind then. I'm pretty sure I got everything. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to like, comment, share. I read them. I'm going to say this. I'm not here to talk about my political views or my political stands. I just wanted to be able to show you guys as many options as possible, show you all of the charts and the progress charts to discuss that something's going to happen, potentially what may happen. Obviously, I would not wish anything terrible on anybody, including our president, because I do think that he is serving his purpose, whether or not I agree with it. So you guys can save all of your crazy hate mail. That's not why I'm here. I don't need a bunch of angry letters from Republicans or anybody else. I appreciate you guys listening. Obviously, if you don't like it, that's okay. Take what you like and leave the rest. If you haven't watched my other video, please watch the other video because I go more in depth to Regulus and talking about some of the themes of that and some things that have happened politically in history as a result of these eclipses. And I want you guys to consider all of the facts. Certainly take a look at as many opinions of others as possible because I think that that is important as well. Everybody's going to have their own tone to how they do their astrology. And I appreciate your guys' likes and your shares. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more fluffy and spiritual and all of that stuff, there will be another video that's coming giving you your specific zodiac horoscope predictions for each and every one of the 12 signs and how they will be affected by the eclipse. So if you guys like this, then like it, share it with people, and show other people how we can prevent history from repeating itself. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you guys what to do the day of the eclipse, but those cities that are in the line, okay, of the eclipse, and go and take a look at a map because it's huge, are being affected. So certainly, you know, the effects of an eclipse will last 6 months to a year. And the effects of this one will affect many things for years to come. And it will take time. So don't expect, you know, the United States to go up in flames on this day. I don't think this is how it's going to happen. I think it's just kind of laying the groundwork for exposing some things. And I certainly will be keeping an eye on Trump and following this whole thing and seeing what's going on because I'm interested to see what happens. We can make predictions, but we don't know exactly how it always plays out. So with that being said, thank you guys for giving me the time. If you have an interest in booking a reading with me, check out the link below, and I'm happy to do that for you. Until next time, I will talk to all of you guys very soon. Thanks.